my opinion. You're gonna get into that sort of thing, perhaps it's better you don't say anything.
I won't make any wisecracks, Pop, I promise.
Good. Because you love us, don't you?
Oh, yes.
You love us. You may live 1,000 miles away. You may have run off every summer. You may be a terrible letter writer. But you love us just the same, don't you? You love me.
Oh, yes, Pop, yes, really.
Fine. Now, at the graveside, just the family. I want to be buried beside my brothers, alone my mother and father. Leave room for your mother to lie beside me. Even if she marries again, still leave room. She'll come back at the end.
All right, Pop.
Now, invite people back after the burial. Stay close to your mother. She gets nervous at any sort of gathering, makes bad decisions. For example, don't let her serve the good beef eater's gin if people are simply going to mix it with the tonic water. After people leave, stay in the house. Sit with her. Don't leave for a few days, please.
I promise, Pop.
Good. And that's my funeral. I'm leaving you this room, you know. After your mother dies, table, chairs to you. It's the best thing I can give you by far.
Thank you, Pop.
The will be in the safe deposit box along with this folder and the stock certificates. The key will be in my left bureau drawer. Now, we'll rejoin your mother. You didn't see the purple finch feeding its young.
Oh, yes, I did, Pop.
You saw it while I was talking.
That's right.
Good. I'm glad you saw it.
Oh, Annie, it looks absolutely spectacular. Thank you, Mrs. Now make sure the soup plates are hot. I always do, Mrs.
But I think we can dispense with butterballs. Just give everyone a nice square of butter.
I'll do butterballs, Mrs.
Would you? How nice. And keep an eye on the ashtrays, Annie. Some people still smoke between courses, but they don't like to be reminded of it.
Yes, Mrs.
Oh, yes, before you go. For you and for Velma in the kitchen.
Thank you, Mrs.
It includes your taxi, so you can leave right after you've cleaned up.
Thank you, Mrs.
There's a little extra in yours, Annie, because you've been so helpful over the years.
Thank you, Mrs.
Now I'll go check the living room. Annie,
Yes, Mrs.
I heard some strange news through the grapevine. Mrs. Velman told me you won't be available anymore.
No, Mrs.
Not even for us. We've used you more than anyone.
I'm retiring,
But
Mrs.
surely special occasions. We're desperate. Can we still reach you at your nephew's?
He's moving, Mrs.
But then where will you go? What will you do?
I've got my sister in Milwaukee, Mrs.
We'll be lost without you, Annie.
You'll manage, Mrs.
We're not like this. We'll never match this.
Thank you, Mrs.
I think I heard the bell. Women's coats upstairs, men's in the hall closet.
Yes, Mrs.
Annie,
Yes, Mrs.
thank you for everything.
You're welcome, Mrs.
Lately, I've been having this recurrent dream. We are throwing this perfect party, and we have Charlie's mother's royal blue dinner plates before the movers dropped them, and the silver before it was stolen, and even the finger bowls, if I knew where they were. And we'd invite everyone we've ever known and loved. We'd have the man who fixes our Toyota, and the intelligent young couple who bought the Peyton house, and the receptionist at the doctor's office, and the teller at the bank. And everyone would get along famously. And we'd have 2 maids to serve, and hot hors d'oeuvres, and cocktails, and first-rate cook in the kitchen. And we'd invite our children, and they'd come back from wherever they are. My husband laughs when I tell him this dream. Do you realize, he says, what a party like that would cost? Do you realize what we have to pay people these days? I know all that. But sometimes I think it almost might be worth it.
To all of us.
To all of us.